Hello there and welcome back to another segment in this extended portrait painting demonstration. We are still in the underpainting stage, so that is the paint here is still wet. So the purpose, I think, of today's video is to get the underpainting to a stage now where I would be okay with letting it dry, so I can come back in with color. Once this painting dries. So if you missed the previous two videos, I would highly suggest watching the previous videos involving the start of this underpainting and all of that stuff. And if you missed them, I'm going to leave a link in the description box down below. But right now I'm just going to pick up where I left off. So again, I think that the basic proportion is all right. I think that the large values are pretty good. Now what I think is, we're going to have to think about focal points. So this is, again, the star of our image right here, the face. Secondary to all that is going to be the hands, and then the rest will fade into the background, kind of like a Rembrandt, where you just have the face, half of the body is in light, the other half is in shadow. So with the hands, I'm going to, before I put any more information into the hands, I'm going to drop a vertical, and this is just an optical trick. So for the face, this corner, actually, you know what? Let me show you on the TV screen. All right, so that is my TV screen you're observing right there. And remember, I am painting from photo reference, but I do try to treat the photo reference like I am working from life. So I don't have the photo reference like right in front of me. Rather, my canvas is off to the side over there. So, okay, this is the vertical I'm talking about. I'm just holding the brush. The brush is kind of dangling there. The corner of the chin, where does it relate to the hands? Sorry, I can't really hold the brush still. It relates to this finger right there. So, dropping a vertical. Whoops, now see autofocus is... Okay, so let's do that again. Corner of the chin. Basically to this point of the finger. And it doesn't matter if this hand gets that much longer or whatever, but this relation from here to here is going to be our very important anchor point. So let's go ahead and return to the painting. So I'm going to actually use a T-square. I don't know if it's going to work if the T-square is long enough. And it's okay if we mess up some of the, the underpainting. It's fine. We're just putting it at a point where it's simple and easy to work. All right, so now you can see how we're tremendously off. So the chin all the way down here, that finger should be there. That may also move the pelvis, so if that's going to move there, so let's take this away. That's a big change, and it's okay. That's what I'm saying. It's just paint. It's not going to hurt you, okay? So we're going to move this to here. So that means that the pelvis, so let's just look at this here. So the pelvis is going to move to about there. There. Pelvis will move to about there. And again, you don't have to always measure, but I will say that it's important to know how to relate your plumb lines, and that is a plumb line. It's a vertical line relating these shapes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the halftone brush. We're going to return this to its simple shape form, which kind of redundant. It's still in simple shape form, but that's not the right brush. The halftone brush is what I mean. We're filling in this shape, or flattening it basically. Okay, so if that's going to be the corner of the finger, let's get the light brush and then just make the shape. So if that's going to be the hand. And again, this is why it's much easier to be working in monochrome right now, just because I don't have to worry about mixing any paint. I have my palette down here. And how large do I want the hand to be? Now, I could do another measurement, but I think we can wing it. We can just work by eye with how large the hand should be. So again, if that's going to be the finger, going down to this point here, we better darn put in the dark shape surrounding it. So at this point, you don't even have to know what you're painting. Like, I'm just throwing out the idea of painting a hand right now, and I'm just looking at a series of shapes. So this shape in relation to this shape, and trust me on this, if you're new to painting, do this. I'm not going to tell you what not to do, but I will tell you that it will help you tremendously to use vertical lines to relate certain proportions to one another. This is visual problem solving in some kind of way. Okay, so let's go ahead and push that over. Wrong brush again. And again, I am trying to show you every brush stroke involved in this painting, which is it's going to be a very difficult thing. I think that these videos are going to get much longer, in particular when we get into color. It's probably going to get much longer. But I think what I've read in most of the comments that folks actually would appreciate the longer videos. So longer videos are coming your way. So this is going, okay, so tell you what, now with the hands, I'm going to go ahead and abstract even more. So this is a point we don't want to lose. But now, I can push this down here and say, okay, that's going to be where the hands is going to fit. Very deceptive, however, because it looks like her sleeve is covering her hands. I did not realize how complicated the clothing would make this pose, but it is. And it's okay. Just by eye, I feel like I'm gonna have to move this even further out. Okay, so now I'm going to get into that halftone brush again, and don't worry, I'll get you a nice close-up shot very soon. But right now, I just want you to see how this portion of the picture is going to relate to the entire picture. Just throw in some shadows there for fun. I have to be very, very careful not to lose the pelvis. I did say it was there. I really didn't think that the finger was pointing towards the pelvis, which is kind of an awkward thing. But it kind of is. I don't know if I should edit that or not. Or whatever. Let's just paint what we see. I didn't really get to choose the pose for this one. This photo reference was taken at a painting group. Initially, I was going to paint only her head and shoulders, but then I decided, I don't know, why do another head and shoulders all the time when I could do all of this? And you're seeing this, you're seeing all of the problem solving involved in placing down these shapes. Very careful not to lose that point. Is there even more distortion? Are her hands distorted? I don't know. I think that the hands would still be a little bit bigger. I'm just looking at it optically, looking at the eyes and then the hands. I think that there's some distortion there. I don't know, what do you think? You're probably, yeah, man, that portrait or that picture is really distorted. But, that's why our experience working from life comes into play. That's how it comes into play, that is. We're kind of painting this like a mitten. Isn't that starting to resemble kind of a mitten? Pushing this back even further. What I should do is relate. Okay, so relate this to the jeans, to those very stylish jeans going all the way up here. All right, so not trying to be sarcastic or anything. I do like the look of everything that's going on here. All right, pushing this up. It's actually pretty descriptive now. We can now see how this angle relates to this one, and I still think that pelvis could move up. Okay, so pelvis could move up a little bit, tiniest bit. Let's just put in this dark shape here for the leg. And again, you want to be very, very bold, very fearless when it comes to this stuff. Simplify as much as you possibly can. Forgive my rambling here. So again, I'm still relating all of these shapes. You're seeing me go back and forth between all of the shapes. This is important. We're establishing kind of a dialogue between all of these shapes. All right, I think that's good for the mitten of the hand. I think that, yeah, perhaps it could get a little bit bigger, but I think now we should get into the close-up shots. All right, so now I'm not going to go after, you know, all the fingers and all that stuff. I'm going to try to solidify this outside shape, and I think it's okay, you know, to let it dry in that stage. I think we're going to do a lot of drawing with color with this one. So that's one corner, maybe that's the I don't know, the back side of the hand. Now let's relate that point to this point. So I'm just looking at simple shape, and I'm trying to keep it very, very workable so that, you know, in the next layer, so when I go in with color, I'm not that, you know, I'm not that worried about moving certain shapes, just because I know that I'm going to have to work in that way. That is, basically I'm only working on the outside shape, just because I know that when I get into this with color, there's going to be a lot of movement among the shapes. We could go into the pinky in that shape there, and just move all of these up here. But I don't want it to dry like this, so I'm gonna give it my best guess, basically. And this is the point that we don't want to lose. That point right there for the finger. So let's lock that in. It's a little bit of a value. Leave it alone. And believe it or not, it's okay to leave hands to dry without too much indication of the fingers. You can actually go into the painting after it dries and very easily delineate where the fingers go, as long as you have this kind of this mitten established. And there's a little more of this shape coming out here. Okay, so now I'm going to group the rest of the fingers there into one unified shape. I'm just going to look for the back side of the wrist. Would make no sense to try to, you know, get a perfect hand but not have the wrist connect to it. Okay, so now I'm going to get the middle tone brush. There is a little bit of a middle tone here. Okay, so again, the important thing is to take the painting today to a stage where I'm okay with letting it dry. Now with the middle tone brush again, go ahead and fill in this shape. And I know it's still fairly abstract, but believe me, this will be much more useful than trying to delineate where all of the fingers go, like fingernails and all that, and then not have it connect with the rest of the shapes. This is how we relate all of these shapes. Again, I think that shape is going to go up. Just looking at the basic contour. Some more light back here. So it looks like I'm missing this length here. Gotta be careful though. Don't want to go any further out there. Something's going on there. I don't want to push this out any further. So that was a mistake. Okay. That point is the one I'm talking about. I don't want to lose that. Push that over. See, it could be that I need to add more to the fingers here. And just the whole nature of this shape is probably all wrong. Let's push this down. Just looking at this as an abstract shape. You know, if this is like kind of the beak to a bird, imagine like, I don't know, that's the head of the bird and then the beak of the bird. Just trying to abstract it like that. Alright, so I think that's getting a little closer to the beak of that bird that I was talking about. Always try to see things, you know, with an abstract point of view. So that is, instead of worrying about the backside of the finger, we can just be thinking of like the head of the bird. Where does the bird's forehead go? Maybe here. That's the beak. This is going down and then over and then down, rather than trying to mimic the shapes exactly. All right, so now I have to decide whether I want to leave the face, let it dry at the stage where it's at. You know, I think I'd be okay with that. But I think we can add a little more specificity into these shapes and still, you know, maintain a very simple and easy architecture. So now you're in close-up, and I do have the camera at an angle with respect to the painting, so just know that it's going to be distorted a tiny bit just so that, you know, I don't block the footage or have to lean over the camera too much. So let's try to think about constructing the shapes from the inside out. Again, I will admit it's a lot more fun to do that, to you know, construct from the inside out. That is literally from the inside of the nose working outwards. And in this way, we can let the oil paint be oil paint. We don't have to worry about just adding more titanium white here off camera. So again, I'll show you more of the palette footage when we get into color. But since I'm just working in monochrome, I think it should be okay like this. Anyway, I think it's just more fun to do this, to construct from the inside out, than to perfectly finish the outline and then just fill in the dots, like fill in the spots. You've seen me do a little bit of everything at this point now, so I think it's important to just have variety. Just adding more specificity to the shape of the nose there. I do know that there's a little bit of a light shape here that I'm not describing as much. Let's try to put that in. And when we get in with color, we're going to definitely we're going to do a lot of drawing with color. Describing a little bit of a shape there for the tear duct. Should be a little bit of a softer edge down here. That shape, probably need to work on that shape a little bit. So I'm going to get a smaller brush, and what I'm going to do with the smaller brush, I'm going to just draw in that outside shape. Again, just burnt umber and neo Megilp. I think that's a little better. Doesn't have to be that perfect yet. Okay. Now, what concerns me is the eyebrows. Eyebrows, most would consider are just details, but I use the eyebrows quite a bit to help me locate the, the top portion of the eye socket. So again, the top portion of the eye socket's probably here, and it starts to taper down all towards here. A little bit of light over here. And I definitely would consider this an awkward stage in the painting. Definitely, definitely. When the features are left kind of suggested or unfinished or whatever. But don't worry, we'll put all that stuff in when we get in with color. Let's see here. Now for the mouth. Again, I'm going to abbreviate as much as I can. And I did just move you into a close-up shot, so you're now seeing it much more close-up with the camera actually front and center. That's why you're seeing a lot of glare there. And it's also difficult for me to paint because I have to lean over. But anyway, I'm going to look at the back side of the mouth. Yeah, forgive my rambling. Tend to do that once in a while. Okay, so a simple little spot. Did you see that? A simple mark for the backside of the mouth. I think it could move a little further out that way. Okay, these are accents. These are probably going to be the last marks that I'm going to make, and I'll let the face dry like this. So again, notice I'm still keeping all of these shapes rather soft. So we want the most emphatic accents now. Deepest accents. So one for the mouth there, and then the nose there, but the mouth does have another corner to it. So I'm going to use the smaller brush with less paint. Hopefully it'll make a mark. And I think the corner is probably here. Somewhere about there. It doesn't have to be very dark. It's kind of a whisper as to where that's going to be. And you know what, with the same brush, whatever, let's put this in with the same brush. I think that one's actually fine. We left that as an accent, and that's all right. I think now we need to look at the tear duct. There, somewhere about there. Maybe it needs to raise a tiny bit. There, very small. Just like the width of the brush. Very, very small change. Now we don't want to do that much. Gotta be very, very simplistic here. And even that on its own is enough to tell me where the eye socket is going to fit. Now you would think, a realist portrait painting or you know, a painting where you're trying to make something look realistic, you wouldn't just leave 3 brush strokes in the underpainting, would you? Well, actually, that's going to help us quite a bit. You'll see when we get into the next camera frame. All right, so now that we are a little bit further back, I will say that the camera is at an angle. I'll show you what it looks like straight, you know, the camera straight, but you're seeing it at an angle just so that there's less glare and so that I can point things out to you without, you know, ruining the shot. So we did indicate the accents, but now you can see at a distance that those accents are reading fairly well, even though there's almost nothing on the face. What matters is that this point to this point works in relation from the chin down to where the chest would fit. Now that I look at this though, I'm going to get the, it's important to stand back. So I'm actually seeing a little adjustment that I think I can make right now. And the painting is glaring quite a bit. And it's getting kind of tacky, so it's definitely going to dry on me. Hopefully it'll dry overnight so I can continue with the color the next time, but let's see here. Okay, so the arm. What I was seeing is the back side of the rib cage. This relation to this isn't working as well anymore. So let's look here. The chest would fit here, right? So that's going to be the chest. Okay, so I'm missing the back side of the chest here. Small little adjustment. And I'm going to need my fan brush just because it's glaring quite a bit. Actually, it's not glaring from your side, but for me it's glaring. So again, this point to this point, so here to here is the chest, roughly the chest. This angle goes back here. Just wanted to push that out a little more, that's all. Now that I'm standing way back here, what on earth happened here? So with the hand, this has to relate to that, so something's up there. And I think maybe this whole shape for the hand needs to move up a little bit, and I think that's why I did say keep the shape simple and easy, because when this happens, oh, you know me. You know I struggle with hands, but right now it's just a very simple adjustment to move the entire shape up relative to this mark here. And I think that actually adds a little more specificity. That adds a little more specificity to the shape. Don't need to do much. I do think that, however, needs to adjust on its own. So a little bit of both, adjusting this and adjusting that. That's why it's important to stand back. Keep these shapes super simple, very simple. Now, is this point from here to here too long? I don't know at this point. I think that, again, I'll be able to resolve the rest of those problems in color. I'm gonna move this shape back. You know, if it feels like it is a little bit too much. So I'm gonna just let it be at the stage that it's at. I'm definitely going to have to rework. See how there's like an angle like this between the two hands? I'm definitely gonna have to rework all of these shapes when I get into color. But again, you're seeing every single brush mark. You're seeing things that I would have probably edited out if I were to, you know, make a painting video or tutorial or whatever that has a limited time. You know, if I were to make a 1 hour long painting video, that would be gone. That would be edited out. But hopefully this is helping you to be able to see, you know, every single little adjustment. But I do think that the videos are going to get a little bit longer when we get into color. Now I'm adjusting all of these shapes. But yeah, I do think they're going to get a lot longer with color. Or maybe I'll edit them. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, would you please? Are you okay with the longer footage? That is longer than 30, longer than 45 minutes. Shoot, it might be even like an hour each time. I don't know. But is it okay if I show you much more of this footage with very little to no cuts? Let me know what you think. This is kind of our time to just hang out and relax, to be honest. Doesn't have to be so serious. We're relating all these shapes now. Sometimes I do these little hand movements to relate shape. I'm going to move the finger down a little bit, but I'm still going to try to keep this relation. Let's make it a little bit lighter, just so it doesn't dry so dark. More Neo Megilp and titanium white. Just to bring up a little more light. Struggling with the nature of these shapes. Struggle is good though. Struggle is a good thing when we're painting. Shows us that we're learning. And I really enjoy this aspect of painting. It's a little more quiet. It's a little less, interactive or whatever. But you really get to sit back and problem solve. It's like someone gives you a physics problem and you're trying to figure out all your variables or whatever. Push this down. Or think of it as a jigsaw puzzle if you're not into physics. Move this over. All right, I think that I'm just going to cover a little bit of the canvas that we're seeing here, and then I'm going to let it dry. That's going to bother me. I'm going to have to figure that out before we go. I don't know. I think I'm going to have to move it down. Another thing I say, when in doubt, blur it out, but this is going to be a very difficult thing to blur. I don't know. You're probably sitting there, you know what I need to do, but I just can't see it at this point. I just feel that this is too long. It's concerning me a little bit. It's just a matter of feel. Paint is also getting very tacky. So I kind of just moved that over to hopefully shrink this down a little bit. Hopefully that'll help. All right, let's just cover this. Again, I gotta keep to the point here. So the point is to get the painting to a point, the underpainting to a point where I'm okay with it drying. I don't have to have all the answers just yet. So just covering all of this. And I'm gonna have to decide what I'm gonna wanna do with that chair. So while we're here, let's go ahead and put in that little indication for the chair. We can take this out later if we don't like it with color. Let's put in the light here. The light plane of the chair. Just kind of suggest where that's going to be. And now I'm going to step back and assess that decision. I don't think it's taking away too much from the painting. So again, a little bit of a darker halftone for this. Lots of Neo Megilp. Just thinking of surface quality right now. That is, how do I want the painting to dry overall? That's what I mean by surface quality. I didn't want to leave a spot there that had, you know, like less buildup of paint than everywhere else. Ideally, you want a little bit more paint buildup in the lights. Okay, I think that's it. That's it. I keep saying that that's it, but okay, that's really it. I'm going to let this painting dry now, and I'll be back with the color, and I'm going to see how I can set up the camera this time so you can see the color mixtures. Maybe if I find a big piece of glass to put there, I don't know, we'll figure it out. That being said, I really hope that today's video helps you out. I wish you the best in all of your artwork, and I'll be back again very soon.